Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a truth that will shake the walls of every excuse you've ever built. The greatest enemy you will ever face is not out there. It's in here. It's not the world holding you back. It's not your circumstances, not your boss, not your past, not even your critics. The real fight, the only fight that truly matters, is against your own weakness, your own doubt, your own hesitation to rise when life demands more of you. We live in a world obsessed with blaming. People blame the economy, their upbringing, their failures, their luck. But the moment you stop pointing fingers outward and start looking inward, you unlock something powerful. The realization that you are both the problem and the solution. You are your own worst enemy, but you're also your greatest weapon. The first battle begins in the mirror. Most people run from their reflection because it exposes truth about their laziness, inconsistency, fear, and lack of discipline. But growth only begins when you stop lying to yourself, when you can look into your own eyes and admit, I can do better and I must do better. You ignite transformation. Real power doesn't come from pretending, it comes from brutal honesty. The mirror isn't your enemy, it's your training ground. Discipline isn't punishment, it's freedom. Weakness thrives in comfort, but discipline destroys it. Every time you push yourself when you don't feel like it, you're sharpening your blade. Every morning you rise early, every workout you finish, every task you complete, you're building armor strong enough to face any challenge. Discipline turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. Remember, you don't have to feel motivated, you just have to act. Motivation follows movement. Your emotions can be your greatest allies or your deadliest enemies. Anger, fear, jealousy, they can paralyze you or propel you. The key is to use your emotion, not be used by them. The world will test you. People will provoke you. Situations will break if you let them. But when you learn to remain centered, calm, and focused even in chaos, weakness has no power over you. Emotional mastery is strength under control, and that's where champions are born. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. Every hardship you faced, every loss, rejection, or failure was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to build you. Weakness feeds on your desire for comfort, but pain is the doorway to greatness. When you stop running from discomfort and start embracing it as your teacher, you grow tougher, wiser, and stronger than ever before. Your pain can become your greatest advantage if you use it. Weakness wants you to quit before you start. It whispers, you're not ready yet, you're not good enough. But perfection is the enemy of progress. The strongest people don't wait to be perfect. They start where they are and get better every single day. They fall, they fail, they learn, and they keep going. Winning the inner fight means valuing movement over mastery, action over hesitation, persistence over perfection. Progress, not perfection. That's how you conquer yourself. Weakness loves comfort zones. It wants you to stay average, stay safe, stay the same. But greatness begins where comfort ends. The moment you stop growing, you start dying. Stay hungry for more strength, more knowledge, more depth, more purpose. The greatest victory is not in defeating others, but in becoming better than you were yesterday. Every day, demand more from yourself. Because when you win the battle within, the world outside has no power over you. Ladies and gentlemen, the real war isn't out there in the world, it's inside of you. The battlefield is your mind, your habits, your heart. Every morning when you wake up, you face the same question, will I let weakness control me today, or will I rise above it? When you conquer your inner enemy, no force on earth can stop you. Because the fight isn't against the world, it's against your own weakness. And when you win that fight, you don't just change your life, you change everything. Confronting the mirror without fear is where every real transformation begins, because the mirror never lies. It doesn't sugarcoat your truth, it doesn't comfort your excuses, and it doesn't care about the stories you tell yourself to feel better. When you look into that reflection, you are face to face with the one person who can change everything in your life, you. Most people avoid that confrontation because it's uncomfortable. It forces them to admit that the life they're living is not the life they're capable of. They blame the world, circumstances, or luck, but the truth is, the enemy is staring right back at them every single morning. The fear of seeing our own flaws keeps us trapped. We distract ourselves with noise, with business, with other people's problems, just to avoid acknowledging that our greatest limitation lies within us. But the moment you find the courage to look into your own eyes and say, I can do better, something powerful happens. Awareness is born, and with awareness comes responsibility. Self-honesty is the foundation of growth. You cannot change what you refuse to face. Every breakthrough begins with an honest assessment of where you are right now. If you're out of shape, admit it. If you've been lazy, admit it. If you've been living below your potential, admit it. It's not weakness to admit your flaws, it's strength. Because the person who can't be honest with themselves will never improve, while the one who confronts their truth gains power. When you face your own shortcomings without excuses, you take control. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the architect of your future. That mirror becomes your battlefield. Your classroom, your training ground. You start to understand that the greatest war you'll ever fight is the war between who you are and who you're capable of becoming. Looking in the mirror is not just about seeing the physical reflection. It's about seeing the emotional and mental reflection too. It's asking yourself the tough questions that no one else dares to ask you. Am I really giving my best? Am I proud of the effort I'm putting in? Am I living according to my values, or am I just going through the motions? These questions hurt because they expose truth, but that's exactly why they're powerful. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in confrontation. Every time you face your truth, you break a piece of the chain that weakness has wrapped around you. You stop running from yourself and start running toward the version of you that's waiting to be unleashed. Most people spend their lives trying to change their surroundings, hoping that external change will fix internal weakness. They change jobs, relationships, and environments, but they forget the one constant: themselves. The mirror shows you that reality. You can't escape your own reflection, and that's the beauty of it. It forces you to realize that until you change internally, nothing external will ever truly shift. Facing yourself in that mirror every day is a declaration that you refuse to live in denial anymore. You begin to hold yourself accountable. You stop letting yourself off the hook for mediocrity. You start demanding more, not from others, but from yourself. That's when growth becomes inevitable. Every great achievement begins with someone who had the courage to face themselves honestly. The mirror is not your enemy, it's your ally. It's the one place where you can't lie, can't hide, can't pretend. When you use it as a tool for self-awareness rather than self-judgment, it becomes your greatest source of strength. It reminds you daily that your destiny doesn't depend on luck or timing. It depends on your willingness to confront who you are right now and take full responsibility for becoming who you're meant to be. Discipline is the invisible force that separates the average from the unstoppable. It's not about punishment or restriction, it's about power. The power to control your actions, your thoughts, and your habits when everything inside you wants to quit. Discipline is not born in comfort, it is forged in resistance. It's built every time you push yourself to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Most people wait for motivation, hoping that some magical spark will drive them forward. But motivation is fleeting, unreliable, emotional. Discipline, on the other hand, is consistent, unwavering, and built through repetition. The ones who achieve greatness are not the ones who feel inspired every day. They are the ones who show up regardless of how they feel. Discipline is the armor of a warrior because it protects you from weakness excuses and the distractions that pull you away from your purpose. Every time you wake up early when your body screams to sleep, every time you train when your mind whispers, take a break, every time you keep your word to yourself even when no one is watching, you're sharpening your inner blade. Discipline turns chaos into order, confusion into clarity, and fear into focus. It's the foundation of every success story ever written. No one becomes great by accident. Greatness is the outcome of small disciplined actions repeated over time. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it's real. Discipline means doing the boring, the uncomfortable, and the inconvenient because you know the reward isn't in the moment. It's in the result. When you master discipline, you no longer chase comfort, you chase growth. And in that growth, you find freedom. Weakness thrives in inconsistency. It wants you to follow your feelings instead of your commitments. It tempts you to take shortcuts, to rationalize failure, to settle for good enough. But discipline kills that weakness because it doesn't negotiate. It's not emotional, it's intentional. Discipline says, I don't care how I feel. I care about what needs to be done. It's the voice inside you that keeps you aligned with your goals when your emotions try to pull you off course. People often believe that freedom means doing whatever you want, whenever you want, but that's not freedom. That's chaos. Real freedom comes from discipline. The freedom to live the life you desire, to build the body you want, to create the career you dream of, comes only when you have the self-control to say no to temporary pleasure for long-term purpose. Discipline is a habit, and habits are built through repetition, not intensity. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. The person who trains 5 days a week, even for 30 minutes, will always beat the one who trains hard once a month. The person who reads a few pages every night will surpass the one who waits for the perfect time to start. Discipline builds momentum, and momentum is what creates results. Every act of discipline adds a brick to the foundation of your success. Over time, those bricks turn into walls strong enough to withstand any storm. You stop being controlled by impulses and start being guided by intention. Discipline also brings confidence, because confidence isn't born from empty affirmations. It comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, you build trust in your own word. You start to believe in your strength, in your ability to handle pressure. You stop doubting yourself because you've proven that you can rely on you. That's the essence of self-respect. Discipline teaches you that you don't need external validation. You need internal alignment. And when that alignment becomes your standard, weakness has no place to live. Discipline is what transforms potential into power, dreams into results, and ordinary lives into legacies. Mastering your emotions is one of the most powerful skills you can ever develop because emotions can either be the fuel that drives you forward or the chain that holds you back. The truth is, your emotions are not the enemy. They are signals, guides, and indicators of what's happening inside you. But when you allow them to control you, they become weapons used against your own progress. Most people live as prisoners of their emotions. They react instead of respond, explode instead of reflect, And let temporary feelings create permanent damage. Mastery begins when you realize that emotions are meant to be managed, not obeyed. The key is not to suppress them, but to understand them, use them, and channel them into productive energy. When you master your emotions, you gain control over your internal world. And once you control that, the external world can no longer shake you. Every human being feels fear, anger, frustration, doubt, and sadness. These emotions are natural. They are part of being alive. But the difference between those who rise and those who crumble lies in how they handle those emotions. The weak allow their emotions to dictate their behavior. The strong use their emotions as data. When something makes you angry, it's revealing what you value. When you feel fear, it's pointing you toward growth. When you feel discouraged, it's showing you the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Emotions are not random. They are teachers. But if you let them drive your decisions, they will destroy your focus. The goal is to observe them without being consumed by them. When you can pause, breathe, and choose your response consciously, you take back your power. Life will always test your emotional control. You will face people who try to provoke you, situations that frustrate you, and setbacks that make you want to give up. The easy path is to react, to lash out, to quit, to retreat, but emotional mastery is about maintaining your composure even when the world tries to knock you off balance. It's about refusing to give your power away. No one can make you feel inferior, angry, or hopeless without your permission. The moment you understand that, you stop being a victim of life and become a creator of it. You realize that peace doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from emotional strength. Emotions are energy, and energy can be redirected. The same anger that could destroy your relationships can also become the fire that fuels your discipline. The same fear that could paralyze you can become the alertness that helps you prepare and grow. The same sadness that could drown you in self-pity can open your heart to compassion and depth. The problem isn't the emotion, it's what you do with it. Weakness gives emotions control, but strength turns emotions into strategy. When you channel your emotional energy into your purpose, you stop wasting power on drama and start investing it in progress. Mastery doesn't mean you never feel negative emotions again. It means you don't let them dictate your life. You become aware of the patterns that trigger you, and instead of falling into the same emotional traps, you rise above them. It takes practice, self-awareness, and patience, but the reward is freedom. Emotional mastery gives you clarity in chaos, calmness in conflict, and courage in fear. It makes you unshakable. When others panic, you remain centered. When others give up, you stay grounded. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily practice, a constant choice to take charge of what's happening inside you before it spills out into your actions. The moment you learn to command your emotions instead of being commanded by them, you stop being ruled by weakness. You gain the strength to respond with purpose instead of impulse, and that's the foundation of true power. Pain is one of life's most misunderstood teachers. Most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid it, fearing it, or numbing it, not realizing that pain carries the greatest lessons they will ever receive. The truth is, pain was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to shape you. Every wound, every heartbreak, every disappointment has a message hidden inside it. It's not the pain itself that defines you, but how you respond to it. The moment you stop running from pain and start using it, everything in your life begins to shift. The strongest people you admire didn't become powerful because their paths were easy. They became powerful because their pain became their motivation. They turned suffering into fuel. They looked at their struggles and said, this will not break me. This will build me. That decision changes everything. When pain comes, it exposes your limits. It shows you where you're weak, where you're unprepared, where you've been comfortable for too long. It strips away illusions and forces you to see reality as it is. That's uncomfortable, yes, but it's also necessary. Growth never happens in comfort. It happens in challenge. Pain introduces you to your true self, the part of you that refuses to quit. That finds strength even when strength seems gone. Every great transformation begins with discomfort. When you lift weights, your muscles tear so they can grow stronger. When you face emotional pain, your heart stretches so it can carry more resilience, compassion, and understanding. Pain refines you. It doesn't define you, but only if you face it with courage. Avoiding pain creates weakness because what you resist persists. The more you run from discomfort, the more power it gains over you. You can't escape pain, but you can decide what it means. Some people let pain make them bitter, angry, or hopeless. Others let it awaken something fierce within them. They ask, what is this trying to teach me? What can I learn from this? That question is the difference between breaking down and breaking through. Pain can be your present or your teacher. You decide. When you reframe pain as growth, you stop being its victim and become its student. You begin to see every setback as a setup for strength, every failure as feedback, and every scar as a story of survival. The power of pain lies in its ability to transform perspective. It humbles you, grounds you, and reminds you that life is temporary and precious. Pain has a way of burning away what doesn't matter, leaving behind only what truly does. It brings clarity. When you've been through enough pain, you stop chasing approval, stop fearing judgment, stop wasting energy on things that don't align with your purpose. You start living with more focus, more gratitude, and more authenticity. Pain strips away pretense and forces you to confront truth, the truth about who you are, what you want, and what you're capable of enduring. The beauty of turning pain into power is that it creates empathy. Once you've suffered, you can connect with others in their suffering. You understand struggle, and that understanding becomes your strength. You realize that your pain was never just for you. It was meant to prepare you to lead, to inspire, to help others heal. That's how pain becomes purpose. It gives depth to your story and meaning to your journey. Without pain, there is no growth, no wisdom, no depth. The people who have endured the most are often the ones who shine the brightest because they learn to use their darkness as fuel. The moment you stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as preparation, you unlock your true power. Every scar becomes proof of your survival. Every wound becomes a lesson. And every moment of struggle becomes a stepping stone toward greatness. Perfection is one of the greatest illusions that holds people back from progress. It convinces you that you need to have everything figured out before you start, that every move must be flawless, that failure means you're not good enough. But the truth is, perfection doesn't exist. It's a trap created by fear. The desire to be perfect is often rooted in insecurity, in the fear of judgment, rejection, or disappointment. It keeps you paralyzed, waiting for the right moment that never comes. Progress, on the other hand, is messy, uncomfortable, and imperfect. But it's real. It's what moves you forward, step by step, mistake by mistake, until one day you look back and realize how far you've come. The most successful people in the world didn't get there by waiting for perfection. They got there by embracing imperfection and taking consistent action despite uncertainty. Choosing progress over perfection means giving yourself permission to be a work in progress. It means understanding that every failure, every setback, every flawed attempt is part of the process. You can't refine what doesn't exist. You can't improve something you never start. Too many people let fear of not being good enough stop them from ever trying. They compare their beginnings to someone else's peak and then convince themselves that they're behind. But progress doesn't care about comparison. It only cares about direction. Even a small step forward is infinitely more powerful than standing still waiting for everything to be perfect. The journey of growth is not about instant success. It's about consistent improvement. Perfectionism is weakness disguised as high standards. It's the mind's way of avoiding vulnerability. When you demand perfection from yourself, you're really saying, I'm not allowed to fail. But failure is not the enemy. It's the greatest teacher. Every mistake reveals what needs to change. Every setback exposes what needs strengthening. And every flaw becomes a lesson in resilience. The more you fail, the more you learn, the faster you grow. Progress is not about avoiding mistakes, but about adapting and evolving because of them. Those who are willing to make mistakes and keep moving forward always outperform those who are too afraid to start. When you focus on progress, you begin to appreciate effort over outcome. You stop measuring your worth by results and start valuing the process. You learn to celebrate small victories. The early mornings you didn't skip, the goals you got a little closer to, the moments you pushed through resistance. These moments build momentum. And momentum builds confidence. Confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from proving to yourself that you can improve. That's how transformation happens, not in one giant leap, but in 1,000 small steps that no one sees. Perfection seeks approval. Progress seeks growth. One keeps you trapped in fear. The other sets you free. When you embrace progress, you stop needing validation. You understand that mastery is not a destination, but a lifelong commitment. There will always be room for growth, always new lessons, always new levels to reach. That realization takes away the pressure to be perfect and replaces it with a hunger to evolve. You begin to see challenges not as signs of failure, but as opportunities to strengthen your character. Every obstacle becomes feedback, not defeat. The most liberating moment in your life is when you decide that done is better than perfect, that trying is better than waiting, that learning is better than pretending to know. When you stop fearing imperfection, you start creating with authenticity. You stop holding back your potential and allow yourself to expand beyond comfort. Progress is alive, it's movement, it's energy, it's courage. The person who keeps improving, even slightly, every single day will always surpass the one who waits for perfection that never arrives. Because perfection is a mirage, but progress is transformation in motion, and that's how real greatness is built. Staying hungry is the essence of lasting greatness. It's the fire that keeps you moving when others get comfortable, the inner drive that refuses to settle even when you've achieved more than you ever imagined. Weakness begins the moment hunger ends. The moment you think you've made it, you start to decline. The strongest minds, the greatest performers, the most fulfilled people in the world all share one thing in common, an unrelenting hunger to grow, to evolve, to reach for more. They understand that success is not a finish line, but a moving target. The goal isn't to arrive, it's to keep climbing. Staying hungry means never being satisfied with mediocrity, never accepting comfort as your resting place, and never letting yesterday's achievements define tomorrow's effort. It's about living with the mindset that there is always another level, always more to give, always more to learn. When you stay hungry, you live with purpose. You stop chasing external validation and start focusing on internal growth. Hunger is not about greed, it's about progress. It's the burning desire to become the best version of yourself in every area of life. Most people lose their hunger because comfort seduces them. They reach a certain level of success and start to relax. They forget what it took to get there, the early mornings, the late nights, the relentless focus. They lose the edge that made them great in the first place. Hunger is what separates those who keep rising from those who fade away. It keeps your mind sharp, your heart alive, and your spirit unbreakable. It's what pushes you to take risks, to keep challenging yourself, and to find meaning beyond material success. The danger of comfort is that it feels good in the moment but kills growth over time. It tells you to rest a little longer, to slow down, to take it easy. But hunger doesn't listen to comfort, it listens to potential. It reminds you that there's always more inside you, more to give, more to experience. Staying hungry means waking up every day with a sense of purpose even when life is good. It means setting new goals, learning new skills, exploring new challenges, and never allowing yourself to stagnate. Growth requires discomfort, and hunger thrives on challenge. The more you test yourself, the stronger you become. Staying hungry also means staying humble. Hunger and humility are twins. They grow together. When you believe you already know everything, you stop learning. But when you remain hungry to grow, you remain open to new ideas, new perspectives, and new opportunities. Humility allows you to see how much more there is to learn, and that awareness fuels your hunger. The most successful people are students for life. They never stop learning because they never stop hungering for improvement. They are always curious, always exploring, always pushing limits. That's why they keep winning long after others give up. Hunger doesn't just come from ambition. It often comes from pain. The people who have suffered, struggled, and lost know what it means to crave change. They've seen darkness and decided they'll never go back there again. That kind of hunger burns deep. It's emotional, spiritual, and unstoppable. When you stay connected to that hunger, nothing can distract you. You don't need motivation because your purpose becomes your energy. Hunger gives you the discipline to keep going when others quit, the focus to ignore noise, and the strength to keep growing even when the climb gets hard. Every day you have a choice to feed your hunger or feed your comfort. One leads to progress, the other decline. Staying hungry doesn't mean never resting. It means never settling. It's about living with intensity, purpose, and passion, knowing that you're capable of more. The real victory is not in achieving something once, but in maintaining the fire that drives you to evolve continuously. Because the moment you lose your hunger, you lose your edge. And the moment you lose your edge, you stop becoming who you're meant to be.